Well, here I am, fortunate enough to talk with the wonderful Susan Bratton. This is Todd Creager speaking. And Susan Bratton is an expert on, God, a lot of things, sexual and everything that leads to sex in terms of health, women's sexual health, male sexual health, mindset. You're going to fill in the blanks that I leave out, but you just, Susan, because I was just telling her before I started this recording is that I've been following her for years, and I think you call yourself a science nerd. So you have this amazing combination of this amazing, really, just taking risks and being, talking about owning one's sexual self, but you also have that scientific side to you. So let's get into some things. Is there anything else you want to share a little bit about you that I've left out in this brief introduction?
Well, the thing that I would say, Todd, to help your fantastic audience, and thank you again so much for connecting with me today. I was really
Sure.
looking forward to our discussion because I think you are such a kind-hearted and brilliant person at solving people's problems, the kind of problems that so many of us run into throughout our relationships. So thank you for holding the space for people in our hearts for
Hmm.
the possibility and healing that you can have the intimacy that you want. Not only that, but that the intimacy that you want, you're barely scratching the surface in your own mind of what your possibility is. And you and I said, let's be very inspirational on this conversation today.
Absolutely.
And I think what I do that's different than what you do is I don't see any clients. I'm not a therapist of any kind. What I do is I'm actually a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques. I say that I like to transform having sex into making love.
Great.
And I think a big part of that is because it's it's just what I think we crave is the sensuality, the intimacy, the joy, the comfort that we get from the touch, the connection, the orgasm, the pleasure, the being seen and seeing our lover. And it's such an important part of life, but it tends to be elusive.
Yes.
And I think that techniques are a very, very important thing to know because it's pretty easy to make a baby. Tab A into slot B, and you've got a baby. But passionate lovemaking, having sex is different. And passionate lovemaking takes knowledge and skill. And there are some people who will go their whole lives having the kind of sex that is very bland and what I would call
Hmm.
friction type of sex. Let's just rub our genitals together, but it's unconscious. And the kind
Right.
of practice that you have is a very conscious practice of awareness and mindfulness. And when I teach people techniques and they realize, oh, wow, there's a lot I can learn. I can tell you that it never ends. At 61 years old, having done this for 20 years, this is my second career. Um, I am still learning. Every week I learn something new about my sexuality and about sexuality. So it's really the gift that keeps on giving. When
Yes.
you get over your fear of learning and you begin to learn technique, and that includes communication skills. It's both body and verbal. But then there's that sexual health piece too that I think is really important. So I would say my platform, my little stool that I sit upon as a sex nerd is is really technique, communication, and sexual vitality. And I'm willing to go anywhere and everywhere today that you want to go. But really, my expertise is not so much about the things you cover, which are infidelity and the relational issues.
Yeah.
Mine is more the body and communication issues right in the bedroom, right in the bed, right in the moment. What do we do to have fun, connection, and ease? And I think ease is something that's gone missing. And technique and communication and feeling comfortable in your body are the things that can solve that.
Wow, that's wonderful. Wonderfully said. And
Thank you.
I love the word ease too,
Yes, I
because
know.
obviously a lot of people, especially men that call me up, they're
Yeah.
nothing but they're not easeful in the bedroom.
Anxiety, performance
Anxiety,
anxiety.
yes. And
Yes.
so,
And women
you
have it
know,
too.
and women have it too. So maybe let's, since you use that word ease, and it just hit me
Yeah.
because of some of the people that I work with and that are listening to my videos.
Yeah.
Let's talk about ease.
Yeah.
How do people go from their old mindsets to ease in the
Yeah.
bedroom. Because, like you said, I mean, you and I both in our 60s. Look at us, right? We're doing all
We look
right.
good, baby.
And a lot of you talk about is it's not about pressure. It's not about performance. It's about learning. It's about skill,
Mhm.
but it's also about how you are with that person. So, speak a little bit more about this whole thing of ease. Just start
Sure.
there.
Well, two things came to my mind when the word ease came up. And one was I have this thing I call my dope flow sex date. And dope meaning really good, not meaning we got high. um, and the other thing that I was thinking about is presence. So I'm going to start with presence, and then I'm going to describe what I consider to be a really fun way to get easier in the bedroom and have more fun and joy. One of my partners, so I'm a publisher of passionate lovemaking techniques. I've written many, many of my own. I've published 44 books, programs, and products. And some of my best work is the work of others who I've recognized in their excellence at
Mm.
teaching people important sexual techniques. And one of them is a marvelous man who might be a great guest on your show named Jim Benson. He's a international men's Tantra trainer, and he trains the trainers. He teaches Tantra teachers to teach Tantra.
Wow. Wow. Woo.
And his techniques, a lot of his techniques are I have a program called Multi-Orgasmic Lover for Men. And what it does, and this is as beneficial to women as it is to men, but basically what we do is we teach men that orgasm and ejaculation are separate systems in the body, and that you don't need to ejaculate when you have an orgasm. And for most guys, they're like, what? And then we say, not only that, but you can have 20 different kinds of orgasms. And the 20th one is wild card, which means you have this unlimited orgasmic capacity. And the same goes for us gals. We have the same body. It's just arranged in different ways. And we have slightly different hormone profiles, which definitely impact our our approach to our sexuality. But
Right.
our
Right.
bodies operate very similarly.
Yeah.
And so when we teach men that they can learn to have these full body male multiple orgasms, and that the way they do that is to start to connect their heart to their cock. And for a lot of guys, I was talking to a guy the other day and he said, my sex life is very unsatisfying. I have sex, but I'm not satisfied by it. And I looked at him. He was about a 35-year-old young man. And I thought, I know, Bing, after a while,
Yeah. Right.
you do it forever. And you're like, oh,
Right.
I know exactly. I said, you need to connect your heart to your penis. And he looked at me and he said, I do.
Yes.
He had gotten so disconnected. And what Jim teaches in this multi-orgasmic lover program is male multiple orgasm and something called ejaculatory choice, being able to ejaculate when you want to, but not
Mhm.
feeling that that's the only path to orgasm. And one of the basic tenets of male stamina, being able to last as long as you want and run all this sexual energy, the core fundamental piece of it is presence. Jim really teaches men how to drop into the moment rather than what Jim calls catastrophizing the future,
Right.
like projecting fear ahead or remembering bad things, but staying connected and present with your lover in the moment and feeling the sensation and having heart connection and just
Right.
relaxing, because performance anxiety comes up and then premature ejaculation comes up and all of the sweatiness and worry and distance
Right.
and all of those things happen when you start thinking about the future or worrying about the past. And I think that is also equally worrisome for women. We don't have the same visual performance anxiety issues, but we have them. We have body image issues because
Yes.
estrogen makes us very judgy about ourselves and very worried, and we have to protect ourselves because women are prey. Women are the horses and men are the cougars, really, or the mountain lions. We
Right.
run, right?
Right.
And I think that this notion of being present is a very, very, very important thing when you're wanting ease. And one of the things that people don't understand as well, especially our male-bodied partners, is that when you're a man and you have a bath of testosterone every day, it makes you horny every day. Add to that the fact that men are biologically wired to want to masturbate every day because you guys need to keep your sperm topped up. You need to be ready when we're ready. And
Right,
we're so
right.
inscrutable as women. You don't know when we're going to want it. You're always like, well, I have a program called Revive Her Drive, how to get your wife to or girlfriend to want you again for sex like she used to.
Right.
And one of the things that that men need to understand is that when you make her an offer for sex, that's too big an offer for her because you're way ahead. You're already horny and turned on and ready to go, and she's not there yet. And so you've
Right.
got to get in her world and help
Right.
turn around and come back and slow down and get her. And this notion of slowing down is very important because a lot of guys are like, how do I get her turned on faster? How do I get her to have an orgasm? I told a guy one time, I got this email from a guy who I respond to all my emails. And this is, I think, what's made me good. And this guy said, I took your advice and did the technique you told me. And she had the most intense orgasm she's ever had. And I thought, okay, well, I've written hundreds of them, darling. Which one was
Which
it?
one
He
was
said,
it?
you said to slow down.
Mm.
I was like, well, that's not
Simple.
an actual technique. That's just
Yeah.
good Susan Bratton advice, right, Todd? But when you slow down, and you get connected in your hearts and you stay present, you begin to lose performance anxiety. You stop worrying about your body. You stop worrying about coming too fast. You stop worrying about things because you're just now connected to your lover. And so it was really Jim teaching me this notion of something he calls the tuning fork technique, which essentially, if if you've ever had two tuning forks and you've held them in your hand,
Right.
and you take one of the forks and you tap it on something, on a hard object, a hard surface of any kind, and then you hold that vibrating tuning fork that's making sound because you've hit it next to the other tuning fork that you've done nothing with, but you just pull it near the other and you hold them together. The second tuning fork starts to vibrate
Correct.
with
Yeah.
the energy of the first one. And
Mhm.
I think that's a beautiful analogy of, if I come into our lovemaking session calm and not in a hurry, understanding that your arousal can't really begin as a woman until you feel relaxed and safe, that when you feel relaxed and safe, you can begin to escalate your arousal together. And when you're vibrating at that calm, turned on, confident, heart connected pleasure, you're feeling pleasure, you're showing pleasure. So many people are so quiet during sex. You don't know what's going on with them.
Right.
I had a boyfriend once who was hard of hearing, and he said, I really need a lot of feedback. Your sounds are very important to me. I need to hear you moaning. I need to hear what feels good. You've got to give me auditory feedback, and you've got to do it loud because I can't hear very well.
Wow. Well,
And it forced me. I said,
yeah.
okay, I will do this for you. This is
Yeah.
your request, and I will oblige. And it was the biggest benefit for me, Todd, because I'd always realized how quiet I was during sex. And when I began to just project my pleasure so he could hear it and know where we
Right.
were, it got me turned on. And it was like all of a sudden having to moan and be like, yeah, right there, and don't stop, and this feels so good, and you're so
Yes.
gorgeous to me, and just starting to say all the things that I was thinking in my mind so he knew where I was. Wow, that gets you into the present moment too. And so
Yes.
these things
Yeah.
are just so darn simple if you I made myself do it because I did it for my boyfriend because he
Right.
needed it from me. But it
Interesting.
turns out it was the greatest gift he could have ever
For you.
given
For
me
you.
because
Yeah.
loud sex is hot sex.
I love it. And it did keep you in the present, tuned in. That's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. You benefited probably as much, if not more than he did
Yes,
in that example. Wow.
I did, because when I started to show my turn on, it accelerated my turn on. and it accelerated his turn on. And then when he got turned on, it got me more
Right.
turned on. That's
Right.
that upward pleasure
Yes.
spiral that lovers co-create.
So great. So terrific.
So that leads me to the dope flow sex date, but I'll go anywhere you want to go.
No,
I just didn't want to drop
that's right.
I didn't want to drop that and then not do it because it's good. It was kind of
That
like
is good. Well,
AB.
it's like you said, I want to hear about it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Dope flow sex date. I want to hear about this.
All right, good. So the dope flow sex date is that with sex, practice makes perfect. The more you have, the more you like it. The more you like it, the more you want. The more you want, the more you have.
That's
And
right.
you have more opportunities to get better at it. Sex is a learned skill. So many women come to me and they say, well, I'm just not the kind, or guys will tell me, well, my wife, she just really can't come from intercourse. And I'm like, oh, dude, do not let that happen in your marriage because you want intercourse. And if you think she can't do it, and she thinks she can't do it, and you don't understand that it's simply a learned skill, and I'll tell you exactly how to do it, then she's not going to want intercourse after a while. And then you're going to be platonic, and then you're going to cheat, or she's going to cheat, or you're both going to cheat, and then you're going to get divorced, all because you had this limiting belief that she couldn't have an orgasm from intercourse. Like,
And I'll
literally,
tell
Todd,
you,
that's what
this
happens.
is, but this is, as a person who's a sex therapist, that's the training we get, that the training is that a majority of women cannot have intercourse, cannot get orgasmic from intercourse. That's the training that we
Total
get.
and absolute bullshit and stupidity. All it is a learned skill. Some women can do it pretty easily, naturally, very few. All you have to do is learn how to do it. And the trick, and I can't not give you the trick.
All right.
The answer to it. There's lots of things that can amplify it and make it easier. And I have a website called betterlover.com where I've shot hundreds of free videos. And I've got a whole playlist on how to cross the gasm chasm, the orgasm gap, the gap between how easy it is for him and how hard it is for her until she knows what to do until he can help her do it. But the real trick is this notion of engorgement. Engorgement is she has as much erectile tissue in her vulva as he does in his penis. It's literally wrapped around her vagina. Yes. But if she doesn't have essentially an erection in her vulva, if she doesn't get the blood flow to all her erectile tissue, because it's kind of like, I describe a woman, it's easy to think about a man. He's got a banana, and in all the fruit in the banana is his erectile tissue. Basically, his penis is erectile tissue with a tube to pee and ejaculate out of and some skin around it. That's what it is. And half of it's in his body and half of it's out of his body. So it's double the amount that you see visually with your eye. Now you take that whole banana and you wrap it inside her vulva, but it's like an English muffin for her where she's got all these nooks and crannies of erectile tissue. So just like toasting a muffin, when you put it in the toaster and it pops up and it's not quite brown enough because you really want it caramelized, you stick it in again and then it pops up and then you have this hard butter out of the refrigerator and you got to put it on the muffin and you smush it together. It makes me hungry every time I talk about muffins. And the butter has to melt into all the nooks and crannies before it's delicious. And that takes a little time for her. He's got the benefit of hemodynamics, fast acting erection. She's 20 minutes to get that blood into there. And often, because he's ready to go, he's got the benefit of more testosterone and he's hornier, ready to go than she is. Right. Couples end up having sex too soon, penetrative intercourse too soon, before she's like begging him to put it in, before her vagina's like sucking it in.
Right.
And she doesn't have all that fluffy tissue. And you need the fluffy tissue because if you think about it, a guy doesn't want to have sex with a flaccid penis. He wants to have sex with a hard penis. Why? Because it's, 10, 20, 30 times bigger than it is when it's not erect. And when it's erect, it's got all this extra surface area, which sends way more signals of pleasure to his brain. And his brain is really a sex organ. So he's like, boom, ready to go. And she's still flaccid. And so all that erectile tissue is literally wrapped around her vagina, but if it's not erect, she's not going to feel the pleasure of penetration that he does with his erection. It's literally that easy in the grand scheme of things. It's called foreplay. It's called licking, sucking, vibration, playing with breasts, kissing, getting the whole system activated. So when he enters her, she feels incredible pleasure, even without touching the tip of her clitoral gland. So I think that's that is like a super important tangent. And one of the things that I like to circle back to the dope flow sex date, which I have outlined on my website. I'll give you that URL as well. All of my articles are at personallifemedia.com. And I've outlined many of these kinds of sex dates there. You can just put in sex date and you'll get articles about it. But basically what happens is sometimes couples are like, I really want you inside me right away. And I'm like, okay, we'll do that. You don't have to wait for penetration, but don't forget full body touch. Don't forget kissing the neck, suckling the breasts, deep tongue kissing, stroking the hair, petting, stroking his cock, fingering her externally, rubbing her mons, rubbing her labia, going down on her and orally pleasuring her, doing 69. So you're co-creating a pleasure circuit between you. There are all of these things that you can do, and you can flow from activity to activity to activity to activity. You can be up, you can do positions, you can do doggy off the edge of the bed, you can do missionary, cowgirl on top, you can integrate vibrators, sex toys, prostate massagers. I mean, there's remote prostate massagers now. There's wonderful vibrating cock rings. There's so many things you can do. And it's really fun to have a lovemaking date where you're like, oh, you know what I want to do now? Oh, you know what would feel good to me now? Oh, could we try this thing I was thinking about? And you're just rolling with a bunch of fun things, taking your time, playing and enjoying yourself without any I'm going to kiss her. I always call it grab a boob and stick it in. That's the typical sex. It's like,
right.
No wonder she's not having sex with you anymore. That is no good for her. She wants to have incredible fun and adventure. That's, I think one of the most important things is the fun and adventure of sexuality to keep it exciting.
That is so good. You speak of it so fluently. It's like a language. It's so unbelievable to listen to you. I'm seeing forget about what I'm seeing as you talk, but no, it's really good. It's a great image, all the images. And the muffin thing was amazing, actually, the whole thing.
I know, the muffin thing always makes me hungry and horny.
H&H, hungry and horny. I love it. Oh, let's see. What else? You're terrific. There's just a bunch of questions I have for you, but one of the things that you talk about is you said that there's a female ED crisis that no one is talking about, but I think it's a lot of what you just said. Yeah. I mean, I think that's it, right? What you're talking about, this erectile dysfunction that, because again, we think of erectile dysfunction of men. You described this so well with women. I know I have this book here, by the way. It's called, I'm sure you've Come As You Are, phenomenal book.
Yeah, that's a very Emily Nagoski. Yeah.
Emily Nagoski, and she said what you said, that we have the same material. It's all just arranged differently. It's men, women, people that are intersex. It's all and Come As You Are, right? That's such a beautiful title. Just to accept us as we are, and then, like you said, have an adventure. So if we're willing to learn, if we're open to learning, I mean, there's a lot of things you say, I'll be honest. I mean, I have a lot to learn. So, just being open to seeing that we don't know this stuff, most people, and to learn. So that's why, I'm going to push people to your different websites. I'll go over it. I know personallifemedia.com is one of them, but we'll make sure that people are educated about it. And maybe there are other areas that they could go even deeper into with some of your programs that you do. But I mean, I just think, people are we've been conditioned. We've been conditioned to think.
We've been shamed. We've been kept in the dark.
We've
been misled.
Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and we've been traumatized.
Yes, we have.
And we have to reclaim. It's funny. There's another really good book that I like by Mama Gina called Pussy, a Reclamation. And I think the
Whoa.
reclamation is the best part of the title of that book.
Oh, yes.
That's a very good book too. And so is Sherry Winston's A Woman's Anatomy of Arousal. I've learned so much from Sherry. I've been very lucky to have incredible mentors. I stand on the shoulders of giants, definitely. So I think those are some other really great books to read that are very empowering, inspiring, and motivating, and expanding.
Yeah. No, said so well. So, one of the things that I saw that I was thinking about is that when it comes to lost libido in midlife, everyone first thought is it's hormonal changes, but you do say
Right.
something
That's
different.
wrong. Yeah, that's right.
So,
It's interesting because as I want to talk about women first.
yes.
So one of the things that I like to do is I like to think about ageless sexuality. I like to let people know that your sex life can keep getting better and better and better your whole life long if you take good care of your physical body. And one of the most common things that happens as we age is atrophy. Our skin begins to wrinkle. You think about someone who's 40, and then you think about someone who's 80, and by 80, they've lost 20% of their stature, their skin is wrinkled. We're shrinking as we
Right.
age.
Right.
And our genitals are shrinking too, and that's called atrophy.
Mhm.
And there are some really, really good things that you can do to reverse atrophy, genital atrophy in the male body and the female body. The very first thing that I think is very important is that blood flow is the most important part of being able to feel pleasure and sensation. I talked about engorgement and the clitoral erection being as important as the penile erection.
Mhm.
And when we age, especially if you're not a person who eats a lot of leafy green, fresh, organic vegetables and beetroot, you tend to start having less and less ability to pump blood around your body because your nitric oxide stores diminish. So one of the things that I do, in addition to having a publishing company, I also have a sexual vitality supplement company. And my
Mhm.
number one product is a product called Flow, Flow. And what Flow does is it uses organic vegetables and fruit
Hmm.
to give your body what it needs to top up your nitric oxide store so you can pump
Wow.
blood to your pelvic bowl so that you can gain better erectile function. You can get more blood in. For women, more lubrication. For
Mhm.
men, more erectile function. Often men can go from like a 60 milligram dose of Viagra down to a 30, a 20, a 10, maybe none after a while once they get their nitric oxide systems topped up. So
Hmm.
instead of taking a pill to get a hard on, you can actually take a supplement and add nutrition to
Yes.
get an erection. And that's for men and women both. And women suffer from not just low libido, I don't want sex, but also from painful sex, vaginal
Mhm.
atrophy, laxity, dryness, loss of sensation, loss of orgasm. And so there's essentially this, what I call a sexual biohacking stack. And a stack is a series of things that you do together that are synergistic, complementary, that allow you to restore full genital function and keep it good as you age. You can have the genitals of a 30-year-old when you are 60 with no problem at all. I recently went in for a panel of STI tests, and the gynecologist said to me, "My God, I have to say, this is kind of weird for me to say this, but your vulva is gorgeous." She said, "Your vulva is healthier than the 20-year-olds who come in here." She said, "What are you doing?" And I said,
Wow.
"Well, do you really want to know, Mama?" And she said, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Okay, here's what I do. First thing I do is I take nitric oxide and I eat a ton of leafy green vegetables, and I cook my own beets. I roast my own beets and I eat them with almost every meal. The
Wow.
second thing I do is I take my Flow nitric oxide supplement to keep my systems topped up. The third thing I do is use something called a V-Fit Gold, which is an intravaginal at-home device that uses red light and vibration for Kegel toning and warmth for recollagenating the vaginal tissue, which tends to get thin and dry as you lose estrogen and as you age and
Oh.
atrophy. I go to my girlfriend, Dr. Robin Benson, every year, and I get a PRP shot, platelet-rich plasma, in my clitoral structure. Men can do this in their penis. It's called a P shot or an O shot. Priapus shot, orgasm shot. It reconstitutes the tissue. And then I'm very lucky because I also get, my husband gets Gainswave and I get FemiWave every year or so, which is a acoustic wave technology. You can go into the doctor's office and get a treatment. And the treatment stimulates new tissue growth in the penis and in the vulval and clitoral tissue so that it's regenerating tissue. And what's nice is when you do the Gainswave with a P shot or you do the FemiWave with an O shot, that combination plumps up all that tissue and it brings back sensation. Your orgasmic intensity soars. Everything feels good. Your clitoral erection is amazing. I mean, your clit gets meatier. It gets more robust. Your vulva gets juicier and it's just soft and pink and voluptuous and responsive. And your penis is firm and hard and erect and veiny and responsive, and it feels so good. And it's crazy at 60. If you go do treatments like this at 50 or 60 or even 40, and you get those treatments done, and then you're like, oh my God, I had no idea how much sensation loss I'd had.
Yes.
And so the thing I like about this sexual biohacking is there's all these things you can do. Oh, and I forgot penis pumps. I don't know if you know this, Todd, but I have a book, one of the books of the 44 things that I've created over the years for with myself and with others. One of them is called The Pump Guide. It's at pumpingguide.com, pumpingguide.com. And it teaches you how to use a vacuum erection device, which is the cheapest, most budget thing that a man can do to keep up what I like to call a banging boner his whole life long as he ages. I call it self-care down there. And a penis pump at $200 that lasts you for years and years and years. A vacuum erection device that you put on your penis, pull blood into your penis, keep that blood in there to improve your blood carrying capacity. And then you let the vacuum out and you've expanded and oxygenated and slightly stimulated all that tissue. So you build new tissue instead of atrophying. So these techniques are available, not expensive. They have incredible efficacy and they make orgasms and sex feel super good again.
So amazing. And you know what you're saying about atrophy, you're so right. You know, it's just sort of like in life when we talk about inflammation, right? So inflammation, well, so many things we could do that's anti-inflammatory. We're meditating, eating certain way, getting enough rest, exercising, taking fish oils, whatever. There's so many things so that when it comes to atrophy, which can lead to apathy, because that's the first word I was going to say. There's things you could do to reverse that. And same with inflammation. It's fascinating. Well, you know, obviously, as a person who's worked with people with sexual dysfunction, I mean, 25, 30 years ago, I was getting people to get a vacuum pump, but only if they had a problem. Yeah, I did. But it was only when they had an erection problem. But you're not saying that. You're saying this is like primary prevention. This is not like prevention. This is not like after a problem. This is something you do. How often do people recommend?
It depends. A lot of guys are doing it for penis enlargement. They not only want to keep atrophy at bay or reverse atrophy, they want to actually have a bigger member. And so, you know, so for some guys, they're smaller, you know, 3, 4, 5 inches in length kind of penises, and they want to be 5, 6, 7 inches in length. So they're doing it for penis enlargement. If you're doing it for enlargement, you're pumping every other day or a couple of times a week. You've got to rest between pumps because you know it's just like working out. You've got to pump the muscle and then you got to let it recover because that's where the building and growth comes in. It's the same exact strategy.
Wow. Amazing.
And so bodybuilders love me because they get all of the pump and they understand it. And often they're like these incredible specimens with these little tiny penises because they haven't focused on that, you know, so it's so funny. But You know,
Hmm.
you can go into maintenance mode, you can go into repair mode, and then you can go into maintenance mode maybe once a week, once every 10 days, once you kind of get where you want to go. So
Wow.
it's one of those things, just like working out, where the more you do it, the better it works. But even just going into maintenance mode and exercise is very good for you.
Wow. So it's really true. It's so hopeful. Again, we got to open our minds and our hearts to this information. And you're such a
Thank you.
source of this information. Just amazing. Um, I'm going to ask you one more question
Okay.
because I thought it was intriguing.
Yeah.
What do you mean by the sexual soulmate pact? I
Oh,
was
that's a
really
good one.
interested in that.
Yeah. That's a free excerpt from my book, Sexual Soulmates, The 6 Essentials to Connected Sex. My girlfriend and highly published author, Arielle Ford,
Oh, yeah.
called me once. She was doing How to Turn Your Mate into Your Soulmate, one of her book launches. And she said, I'd like you to write the lost chapter on sexuality. How do you turn your mate into your sexual soulmate? And I thought, oh, girl, thank you for the prompt. I needed that. That was a good one. And I thought about, in the 20 years that I've been teaching people how to transform having sex into making love, what are the things that really, really move the needle for people? Because what I do is, anyone who's on my mailing list and emails me, I answer their questions. And so I have given out so much free advice over the years. I mean, every day I'm answering questions. This morning, before I saw you, I was looking at a series of pictures of a guy who has these dots on his balls and this problem around the corona of his penis. And he's like, what do I do? This is hurting me. And I
Mm.
said, let me talk to my friend, Dr. Judson Brandeis, and ask him what it is and get back to you. And I don't give doctory advice that often, but I'm always very interested in everything. And so I have a lot of resources where I can get answers for people, and I do it. And so I'm constantly giving away advice because it's what makes me better
Right.
and helps me create the products that really help people. And so when I was giving out all this advice over all these years, I realized there were 6 things that were what I consider the essentials for really having that kind of sex and sex life that was that ease, that heart connection, that pleasure, that joy, that fun, that adventure. And one of them was the sexual soulmate pact. And that's PACT, like an agreement. It's a pact that you make with your partner. You can download it at sexualsoulmatepact.com. And essentially what it does is it overcomes some of the most common communication issues with a single technique. And I'll give you the technique. There's no hiding it. I give it away for free. But essentially, women, and I'm going to go with the masculine feminine kind of experience here, which is the bell curve, the big middle of the bell curve, is that most people are in a heterosexual monogamous relationship, but this works for everybody. So don't worry, I support gender spectrum expression. So typically women feel like they don't like what they're getting, but they don't know what they want. So they just stay quiet. Well, I don't really like it, but I don't know what I want, so I can't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't like this, but if I tell him I don't like it, it'll hurt his ego. He'll contract, he'll get all butthurt, and then it'll ruin the sex date. So I don't say anything. And men, because they're testosterone dominant, they have an overinflated view of their own sexual prowess. It's not their fault. Testosterone is a very handy hormone. It gives men balls, confidence, courage, and they believe they're better than they are.
Yeah.
And so they get hurt when they think they're not doing a good job, because men want to do a good job. They will give up their pleasure for your pleasure. And so they can't help but contract if you tell them, oh, I don't like that. That's hurting me. Don't do that. It's no good. I didn't come. Whatever it is, they're going to be like, oh, And so women stay quiet.
Right.
And a lot of times men don't ask for what they want. They're embarrassed. They have shame, what have you. So the sexual soulmate pact is very, very simple. And what it does is it says, let's create an agreement where you look at everything I say, not as failure, just as feedback.
Hmm.
and that it's the information you need to do an even better job. And how could you know what I want when I'm on a 28-day cycle? Even after menopause, women run with the moon and we ebb and flow, and we want
Right.
something different every day. Men are much more steady state. Women are
Yes.
much more changeable. It is our hormone profile, estrogen versus testosterone as our dominant hormone. And when I just tell you, I don't want to get into my good girl mind. I don't want to go, honey, would you mind, please, kindly not, getting your elbow off my hair. You don't want to have your woman doing that. You want her to be like, you're pulling my hair, babe. Oh, sorry, honey. Here you go. Thank you for letting me know. And you want to
Right.
thank her, because what women need is encouragement, because we're skittery. We're the horses, not the cougars, not the mountain lions. And when you say, thank you, got it, babe, when you appreciate her for telling you what she needs in the moment, then she feels safe. Here we are back to safety, to tell you everything. And when she starts telling you everything, oh, honey, I don't want you to go down on me today because I feel like I'm getting my period and I just don't want to do that. Or how does my pussy smell? Do I smell okay? Or do you think I'm pretty? Like, we need to
Right.
constantly
Right.
know we're beautiful to you. You could tell us every day and it wouldn't be enough. We need it. We're insecure around our bodies. It's
Mm.
what estrogen does to us. And so when you can ask for whatever you want, when you can say whatever you need, can you rub my neck before we do anything because I've got a crick and I won't be able to relax? Can you pull my big toe like you always pull that big toe because it's hurting me again so I can relax? Whatever it is, whatever you need. When you can ask your man for anything you need and he's like, sure, babe. Okay, got it. Thank you. Yeah, babe, tell me more. How is it now? When he's like leaning in, coming towards you,
Leaning in.
wanting
Yes.
more and hungry for it, and he doesn't take it personally, because how the hell could he know?
Right.
Oh my God, your sex life gets so much better. And for women who are like, I don't know what I want, I explain to them, oh, yes, you do. She knows. Your yoni, which is a tantric lovemaking word for a woman's vulva. Your yoni, Y-O-N-I. You can say my
Yes.
pussy, my vagina, my vulva, my kitty, my weezer, my hoo-ha, whatever you want to call it. She knows. She knows what she wants. She knows. You
Yes.
don't need to know. You need to listen to her. She's talking to you the whole time. She is always down there bitching and being hungry and rah, 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 and like you start listening to her and you're like, damn girl, you are a needy little yoni. Yes, I am. And I want great sex and I want it now and tomorrow and all the time. And when you start giving her her head, if you will, letting her tell you what she wants, and you're speaking to your lover you're just giving voice to your yoni, like, I got no control over her. I'm just telling you what she's telling me. And when you kind of put it off to that, like, I'm just reporting in from the animal that I live in. I am an animal. I am not Homo sapien. Homo sapien, what the hell is that? We're monkeys. You go into the tree of life and we're up there on the branch with the orangutans, the bonobos, etc., the chimpanzees. We are monkeys. We have no control over ourselves, very little. And when you're in bed, you do not need to be a good girl. You do not need to rationalize. You do not need to say please and thank you. You just need to tell your lover what she wants. And he's going to be like, let me give it to you. And you're going to be like, yeah.
I love that. I
That's the
love that.
sexual soulmate pact. You can
Woo.
print it out, read it, explain it,
Yeah.
read it together, have a dinner conversation, whatever you want to do. But when you strike that agreement, all hell breaks loose in a good way.
Wow, that is phenomenal. All right, this has been amazing in so many ways. I think
Thank
my
you.
listeners and viewers will love it. Love it.
I was so looking forward to talking to you,
Uh,
Todd.
that's great. Well, me too. I was definitely excited about talking to you too. Um, one more time, you've said it a few times, but
Yeah.
what would be the best place for them people to go and just tune into all your great stuff?
Yeah, well, the things that we talked about on this episode were betterlover.com has all my videos, and
Better
underneath
love.
every video is often some kind of bonus added content that you can access to take it to the next level. That's usually free. I give away so much stuff because I've got plenty of things for you to buy, but there are people who've been following me for over a decade who've never purchased anything, and I've changed their lives, and I'm happy about that too. I do fine. And so betterlover.com, personallifemedia.com is the repository of
Yes.
all of my work, all of my articles. All roads lead to Rome there. You'll find what you're looking for in the search box, type in anything, and there's an
Right.
article or two on it.
It's great.
And then we talked about the pumping guide for penile
right.
rejuvenation. We talked about the sexual soulmate pact, PACT, sexualsoulmatepact.com, as the 2-word phrase that ignites passionate lovemaking, which is thank you.
Yep. Wow. I love it. Thank you, Susan. Just terrific. I think, like I said, people will get a lot out of it. It's been such a pleasure, and hope to talk to you again.
Looking forward to being with you again, too. Call me anytime. I'll be happy to come back. And I'm going to also set you up with all my books and programs, give you a full lifetime VIP membership so that you have access to everything, because I'm sure that'll be helpful for you in your practice, too.
Love it. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
a
I'll be
gift I
happy to
didn't
send you
expect.
Flow and Desire, my vitamins, too. So let me know.
I'll take it.
Okay,
All
good.
right. Yes, yes, yes. All right.
I'll see you on the other side.
You got it. Take care. Bye-bye.